or not, but I usually I put that little thing up for a minute so it gives people a chance to come in.
I should probably retweet this, huh?
Oh, maybe.
Okay. So this is embarrassing to ask because we're probably live, but this is twitch.tv/music with Marky?
Yeah, I think so. It's not embarrassing. I haven't done a live stream in months. Me and AJ were doing some live recording. I'm just doing this because why not? Maybe someone wants to see us teaching guitar lessons. Why not? Hey everybody, this is RetroRGB Bob.
Hey, what's up everybody?
We are doing a little bit of a guitar lesson here today. Bob knows how to play quite well already, but he hasn't played.
I'm alright.
He's already says. He hasn't played any guitar. How long has it been since you played?
Twice in 6 months. Twice where I actually sat down and did like a real session where like my arms hurt afterwards.
Okay.
So
I'm going to give him kind of a lesson that's based on just trying to get back into it. And once you've had the guitar down for a while, we have no real format here. There's no curriculum. It's going to be a conversation. And
yeah.
There's going to be some guitar playing. And
I'm also trying to retweet this to get other friends to log on, but
yeah.
Is this working? You want to verify on your computer?
Oh, I have no idea if it's going to Twitch or not. I know it's going to YouTube.
Oh, on YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there we go. That's why I don't know if it's going. YouTube.com/music with Marky. If you're here, you already know that, though, so there was no point in me putting that plug on that, but sorry about that.
It's cool. Oh, man.
Okay, well,
I got all this great stuff for streaming. I got the Stream Deck so I can hit buttons and like change camera angles and crap, and I never use any of it. I totally have to get back into streaming again. I'm going to cough now and give Bob COVID.
It's fine. I've had it.
Yeah.
I survived.
I had it twice.
Okay. Oh, let me turn the volume down because we're talking. Oh, see, there we go.
Hey.
Right. I want to tweet this out so we can have some more friends join us. But
yeah. I'm doing this through the GoPro this time, too, so this is interesting. I should put on the multi-stream jack because if anyone's talking to us from YouTube, I won't know about it. So these guitars are tuned, we're metalheads, right? So we're doing a metalhead lesson. This guitar is tuned down a whole step. This is a Skirvis and Raptor. Love this guitar. Use this on quite a few songs on my channel. Bob, you're playing a Dean, right?
I mean, technically it's a Dean, but this thing is so heavily customized. I don't know if you'd really call it anything other than it started out as a Dean Rust in Peace edition. And it started out all messed up with, broken up ends, and I bought it as a guitar that I could, not buy a case for and leave at the studio, and it ended up being my favorite guitar that I've ever played. And this is thanks to a luthier who disappeared.
Yeah.
I hope he's okay. I hope he didn't get Rona'd out.
What's his name?
But, I don't even want to say it.
Oh, I was going to say, maybe he can.
He was absolutely
somebody
amazing.
could say, where are you, man?
Yeah.
Also, we are both plugged in direct. I am through a Kemper. He's through my Axe FX.
Which is hilariously ironic because for years I've always watched all of these videos, including Mark's videos, talking about can you hear the difference? And I could always hear the difference for metal. I always know which one's the Kemper, and I always know which is the other one. And funny enough, I could almost never tell anymore what's the difference between real and the Kemper. So it's funny that I'm hooked up to the one that universally I didn't like as much. But it happens. We hit record over here and we'll get started.
All right, Bob's making a video of this for his channel.
Well, this is for your channel.
For my channel?
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening there. Am I even on the camera? I have no idea.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, that's a
sorry.
pleasant sound.
Yeah.
Party foul.
All right. Let me make sure. If there's anybody in the chat, let us know if you can hear us. All right.
Nice. I'm not getting any of the chat stuff in here.
No?
No. Or nobody's chatting. We'll see. Do you love us, man? Say something. Okay. So
give it a minute. There's
first
a lot
things
of,
first.
A lot of metalheads I'm friends with that would love to do this. If nothing else, just to make fun of me for sucking at guitar now. So we're definitely getting people jumping on just to make fun of me at least, which is fair, by the way.
First things first. You just talked about having pain. It's a quick stretch thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is nothing musical about this. It's just first fret, low string. You're just gonna do this 1 2 1 1 3 1 4 1 5. Just do this like first one. Stretch out your second finger. Take 2
Oh.
frets apart. Yeah. Whatever stretch is good for you to feel it. Do that like 4 or 5 times, just so you can feel it again.
Funny, so I'm so used to stretching. For years,
What's up, Ernie?
I did the Dream Theater stuff. Like,
Yeah.
so you went.
But the thing is, you want to start with a really relaxed hand,
Okay.
and then just build the stretch, and just stretch out just like you're doing anything else. So you don't end up with carpal tunnel because you haven't played in 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah, just do that a few times, and then
So it's
I usually
funny
shake
that-
it out, keep it warm. And the other thing is that just get your right hand going.
Get your right hand.
Yeah.
So it's funny that you mention that because in a lot of the videos that I've seen, a lot of the pros recommend stretches.
Yeah.
But the problem is I'm a nerd and I'm uncoordinated and I'm fat and out of shape. So when I stretch, I feel like it's a competition. So one of the ones I always saw was this. And somebody told me years later that like you're supposed to basically hold your hand backwards and like just a hair.
Yeah.
And for years I was before gigs.
You're like ah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so my warm-ups used to just be play whatever I was going to play that night until my hands hurt, which was usually almost instantly, like less than a minute. And then just shake it off, wait a second, have some water or beer, depending on where I was, and then do that again. And that wasn't terrible.
Right.
But I like stuff like this because
Stretch on the guitar.
this
That's what you're
isn't
doing.
going to hurt my hand.
No.
Like, I'm not going to blow my hand out before a gig
It's
or a
also
practice session.
the exact muscle you need to stretch to play the guitar. You're not
Yeah.
converting one stretch to something that it's not used for.
So that's just stretching out your hand.
And focus on relaxation of your hand too. Most of the reason you're going to have pain in your hand is because you're going to play tense.
Okay, that's a good point. That's a very, very
So
good
while you
point.
stretch, think about I'm really loose. I'm really loose. I'm not playing difficult. I'm not like putting muscle into it. Yeah.
Okay, that's a
Alright.
good one.
So just to stretch, like do that before you play, especially if you're not playing often. If you're playing often, you don't need it quite as much. The other thing I like to do just to get my hands synced up is, and again, this is totally not musical, but this is just a picking exercise. So on the E string, I'm going 4 1 3 1 2 1, and I just
Up
do
and
it.
down picking.
Yeah. So I do it. Yeah, but do it like kind of slow at first. So just do 4 1 3 1 2 1, then go to the next fret. All the way up to the 12th. Yeah.
So
Now
it's funny
again,
that-
while you're doing this, and there's a reason for these other than just getting loose, right? So you want to make sure that your picking hand, you want to focus on this stuff now so that you're building some things that you may not have been working on before. Don't swing wide when you pick. Stay close into the string, right? And don't be lifting your fingers way off of the fretboard. So it's your pinky's going to pop up as much as it happens. But try to focus on staying close and staying relaxed. Yeah. Focus on mechanics a little bit so you're building back the right habits.
That's a good one. So for rhythm guitarists out there, which I am, the one that I always did was from the John Petrucci video from the 90s. That
Yeah, like spider climbs. Yeah.
But I like how yours just starts out just
Simple.
way more of like a let's get in this, let's get our stuff loose. Just
The problem with any of that stuff, if you start getting really complex, then you're just thinking about too many mechanics at once. I just want you to focus on one.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's like the first 5 or 10 minutes when you pick the guitar back up after not playing it for 6 months. Stretch and get your hands in sync.
Okay.
That's it. Now, what you do from there... Oh, Ronnie, what's up, Ronnie? Scruffy looking RGB.
Hey, Scruffy.
Can you guys hear us okay? Or is it only when I lean into the mic like this?
Yeah, and are both of our guitars even and stuff? I know I'm out of tune. We'll get that fixed in a second anyway. We're just kind of getting started. Want to make sure. What am I looking to do? I'm looking into the GoPro.
Yeah, the GoPro is what I have on from live here.
alright.
Yeah. So everybody's getting like the back of my head.
We also got a bunch of other cameras going on here. It's a nerd extravaganza. Nothing. You'd all be proud.
So let's get you tuned first, then we'll talk about some rhythm stuff because you're primarily a rhythm player. So
Yeah, I obviously tuned before I came, and then I tuned a couple times since. But
thanks, Scruffy.
it's time for an everything bridge for me. The technology's there.
Cool, good.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, so the next thing I usually do is pop on a drum beat and play along. You want to just get into playing again, right? So I've got Easy Drummer here. And where's the link to it? Oh, there it is. I'm just going to pop on a beat. I'll pick one, and let's just do something real simple, like old school metal, just E,
Okay.
G, A, G, like power chords, just to get started. I'll play over it, you know, that kind of thing. Let me pick a sound I like here. Un momento. I could actually go to, no, I can't go to that screen here. I have a new screen since I set up this live thing, so it will not show correctly. So we're popping on a drum beat. We're going to just do like a 4-measure kind of thing.
So one thing that anybody listening should definitely be aware of is that Mark is a musician, and I am just a fat drunk who loves to play guitar. So Mark will say things like a 4-measure beat, and I'll have to count in my head like, is this 4, 1, 2,
It's actually going to be 8.
4, 1? Okay.
Now, I don't know if that beat is coming over. Go E, G, A, G. Just to get yourself back into it, right? There you go. You lost much, buddy?
Let's see if we can tame it though.
Okay. It's not bad.
Funny, one of the songs on my album is kind
Magic says pump up the drums.
Okay.
All right, I'll turn up the drums there.
Yeah, one of the songs on my album is pretty much that. It's the opening is just.
Your friend Shank is here to shake up. Just so you know.
Oh, awesome. The only thing that could get even funnier is if Shank and Voltar show up to shitpost at the same time. That's great. Because Voltar is a master modder. This guy, he's both an artist and a PhD with a soldering iron, but he sucks at guitar and he thinks he's awesome, and it's very funny. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Nice. Okay, so question.
Yes.
What is it you're looking to accomplish? Because I'm not going to just do a lesson in the ether, other than you're
No,
trying to get
this
back
is-
into it. So
This is exactly why I wanted to talk to you about this live, because I didn't
Okay.
want to have this conversation and then forget all the good points.
Right.
But here's the thing. So my accuracy is always the hardest thing.
Right.
And when I was recording, it was by default easy, because I would just do the same things over and over to drums over and over.
Right.
And then I would just keep doing it and keep finding what's best for me. Standing, definitely. I had a friend that's not even a pro musician who just came over to press the buttons for me one time, and he was like, "You got to stand when you play.
Right.
Everything's different. Everyone's different too, but so I got to stand."
Same for me.
A lot of times when I'm away from the game for a while and I come back, I have to really listen to the drums and make a conscious effort to have my right hand hit. Whereas after a while, I don't even think about it, and my right hand just hits with the drums.
Right.
And if you have a good drummer that you're friends with and you get a groove in, you could do that live. You don't even need to think. Your hands are all hitting at the same time. So that stuff comes with repetition.
Right.
But what I'm looking for, you might be able to call it a cheating, skipping to the end, whatever else, but like, how do you get the cobwebs off? Because what I've always done is somewhat of what you just said, in that start small.
Right.
And then my hands hurt, like I'll go pour myself a glass of water, set up something else, come back, and then keep playing. And then my hands will basically hurt for a day or two, and then I'll go back again, and it'll take weeks to get back up to the point where I could play a full set. And then it would take months to get to the point where I would be comfortable standing in front of a couple hundred people doing that.
Right.
So as somebody who's absolutely a pro musician versus a chump, there are so many different things that you probably know that just by hearing that story, you're probably thinking like, well, don't burn yourself all the way out to the end.
Right.
Don't practice for 3 hours, practice for 20 minutes day 1, 40 minutes day 2. So from starting out with the very, very, very basics,
Right.
what advice would you give to a fat old man who's not played guitar for 6 months, other than 2 times, to how to get back into playing in a way that's not going to injure myself?
Right.
Because don't forget, we're not sitting around a campfire playing Kumbaya.
Right,
we play
right.
some crazy shit that
Right.
you could absolutely pull a muscle in your forearms
Right.
if you
So
go deep.
This goes back to the very first thing we talked about with the stretches, but focusing on being relaxed, right? It's because most of the problems you're going to have are because you play tense. You're trying to play this fast metal stuff, and right away you tense your forearm up, and you're like, and you're trying to play, and it's like you're running with your legs tight. You can't do it. So it's really about being loose. Now, usually what I talk about with that, there's two things. One is a video that I just did on Wednesday, which was practicing in sprints, not in marathons.
Right,
So
great video.
Yeah, so if you're working on something, you talked about 3 hours. 3 hours of practice is fine, but not 3 hours straight. 10 minutes or 15 minutes, 10-minute break. Another 10 minutes or 15 minutes, 10-minute break. These little breaks in between. Now, when you're just picking up the guitar again, the breaks in between are going to be a couple chugs of beer. When you've been playing for a while, the breaks in between are going to be, say I'm working on like some kind of, some crazy shredder or whatever. I'm trying to play something fast. My breaks in between will be flipping on the drum machine and grooving, writing music, stuff that's not taxing my abilities, and then back again for 10 more minutes of taxing my abilities.
Totally makes sense.
So the sprints are going to keep you from overplaying and getting hurt and losing interest as well. You're also going to learn a lot faster that way. Now the other thing, for you, this is going to be true for anybody, but coming back, so let's take something. Do you have a riff, a rhythm part, something you really like playing that you feel you play inaccurately most of the time, or you don't play it well unless you're really on your game?
Oh, absolutely.
Pick one and show it to me.
It's the song that we wrote together, and it's actually a drop tuning. I'll play it slowly first.
Right.
So
it's pushing the edge of your ability. Right.
Yeah.
It's pushing the edge of your ability and starts to get sloppy, right?
Very much to the point where even when I was recording that, when we were doing the demo, like I had to, when I did the demo, I cheated because that's my own philosophy here. But if you're demoing something,
if you're demoing,
long.
Just get it,
Like I played that 3 or 4 times, starting in different spots. I cut it and pasted it just so you could hear what I had in mind.
For sure.
But when we did the real demo, hey, this is what the song's going to be. I played through the song once or twice, sloppy on purpose to loosen up, and then I would record with natural stops. That's my only cheat trick that I do because I've been doing that since the 50s.
Right.
It's, a 2 reel thing. If there's a natural stop in the song, punch in there. But yeah, that was the thing that was I had to really get my chops up to get to that speed without completely flopping it up, especially that.
Right.
I can't even do it at slow speed.
Now, any riff you're doing, and that's more of a lead guitar thing that you're playing there. I know you're calling it a rhythm part. You're playing single notes. It's lead guitar technique, right? So anything like that, always you're practicing with a metronome or drum beat or whatever, but at tempos, right? And so if the song is at 120, you're going to, and you want to play it at whatever speed you can play it cleanly at 100. That 10 minutes, you take the break. The 10 minutes, you come back, you try to do 102, right? You're trying to work up to whatever the speed of the song is and actually a little past it. So that way when you play it, it's well within your ability, not at the edge of your ability. But the other one that no one talks about, I'm actually going to be doing a whole video on this. Play it at half speed. Play that riff that you're playing now. I don't know what half speed is, but really slow.
Yeah.
And just do it really slow for me once. Yeah, right? It's hard at half speed.
Yeah, it's hard because my brain is so trained to think of what note's coming next.
When you want to master a riff, learn it at half speed. Now, there's a couple things that happen when you're playing at half speed. Keep it slow. One, you learn that you really don't know the riff as well as you think you do. And by learning it at half speed, you will master it. Two, your fingers are flying way off the fretboard. You're working at half speed, so learn it. I don't have that riff, but I've got one. Let's just say I got like
any fast pick on the lower strings. I can tune back up.
No, I have one that's drop tune as well.
Okay.
So it's like the last song that I just posted. Right, I was having problems with feel on that one, and my fingers were flying off the board. So at half speed, all those little clicks in between, I can focus on them and get them right, and focus on not bringing my fingers way up, and focus on staying relaxed. So I want to play the whole thing, and I want to be very relaxed. My left hand is relaxed, no tension in the forearm, and get the feel of the riff correct. So when you play it up to speed, all the nuances are in there.
Okay. I don't even know what that note is. I can't.
You lost it. Play it at speed. You forgot it.
Either this has been a long time since I played it, so either I forgot the riff or my guitar's out of tune. Oh.
Mostly I'm looking at the position your pinky's flying way off.
Isn't it funny that I could not figure out what that riff was when I was playing it one note at a time, but when I went right back up to main speed, my hands just went exactly to the correct
Everybody
spots.
does that. That tells me you don't have mastery of the riff yet. So whatever tempo the song is at, if it's at 120, you're going to put you don't even have to change it quick. You can put it on at 60, or you can just play, half speed at 120. And you want to get through the whole riff at half speed. And then you want to work your way up to playing it at full speed, go back to half speed again. So I would tell you, whatever you're working on, other songs, a maiden song, whatever it is you're working on, if you've got some songs that you felt like before you stopped kind of playing, that you loved playing and you didn't quite have and you really want to get them down, take those songs and start working them at slow tempos.
And that's the type of thing that you could do while watching TV, right? So this doesn't have to be a serious playing session. You could just be exhausted at the end of the night and I could just be...
Yeah.
But the thing that you said about my hands coming way off the fretboard...
Yeah.
There are so many things that I do on guitar that people have pointed out over the years that I had no clue that I did.
Yeah.
And I had no idea I did that.
You're going to do it some. Pinkies are going to come off more. But a lot of times that has to do with thumb positioning too. So I'm showing you guys like it's hard on a GoPro here, but a lot of times if your thumb's in a bad spot, your fingers are going to flap. So if you start bringing your thumb down here a little bit when you're playing those kind of riffs where you got to play at speed like that, if you bring the thumb back, your pinky can't fly off.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, you've got your thumb like here. If you start bringing it down like classical position, and you have that bend in it like this, and then you're coming up and around and over the strings, you'll start to have more accuracy that way.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's going to feel uncomfortable at first, though. You'll have to get used to it.
Yeah, that is absolutely
so. And also, you're going to play more with your fingertips, right? You're playing a lot with the meteor fingers right now, which causes a lot of like that kind of hitting two notes at the same time and flubbing things out.
That is funny, though, because that is a tactic that I use on purpose for a lot of the rhythm stuff.
And you do it, yeah. There, it's fine, yeah.
Yeah.
But on a single note thing, any of that stuff, you want to be fingertips.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, even my pinched harmonics I'm out of practice on. So.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well, that you're not using a sound that's good for pinches either.
Any questions?
Ernie says he's picking it up after 30 years. Yeah, Ernie, 30 years is a long break. Definitely go through everything we're saying here with the stretches and all that, so you don't build up any kind of like tension and start having hand pains.
So the other thing that always gets me, and I actually had an injury years ago now, but like 2 different doctors told me I'd never be able to hold a beer bottle in my hand again, let alone play guitar.
Right.
And just, I'm not a doctor, but I don't believe...
You play one on TV?
I don't believe people when they tell me that.
Yeah.
So I ended up I did nothing and continued my life and it started to heal.
Right.
Believe it or not, I went to an acupuncturist who... The theory was that, like, you stick a bunch of, infinitesimally small needles in your arm, all your white blood cells come flying down because your body's like, holy crap, something's wrong. And then you pull these tiny needles out, 2 days later you're healed. And, it actually healed my wrist in 2 sessions after 2 years of doctors telling me that.
Yeah, yeah.
But one thing that I definitely get is, more so than before the injury, that, the muscles around the wrist start to get cramped when I do the triplet stuff, which I love. So like In Flames Wraith, one of my favorite ones. Wow, I'm on the spot here.
Yeah, well, it's a tough riff. Right.
So
I'm going to tell you the same thing again, though. You're playing it too fast right now. Don't play it at that speed. It's not clean when you play it at that speed. So why are you doing it? If you keep practicing it at that speed, you will just keep practicing it wrong. Play it slower and work your way back up.
So that's the funny thing, is because that's a riff I've played since the album was released.
Right.
And if I were to play that song now, if my wrist didn't cramp up by the end of the song, that'd be accurate enough.
Why is it cramping up?
Fine. That's the problem. I don't know.
I can tell you why it's cramping up. Same thing I want to reach over by your hand. Because every time you do a triplet, you're like, ugh. You look like you're trying to lift weights.
But it's kind of hard to do a triplet without cramping.
Do it slow, do it at half speed, and relax. half speed and relax, just like everything else, right? And get faster. Just like you would practice, like we were talking about, like a riff to a metronome. Practice doing triplets to a metronome with a relaxed arm until you can play fast and relaxed.
That's an interesting one because the way I play faster stuff is very often a completely different hand position than if I play a slower thing. So like if I wanted to play...
Figure out what the fast position is and do that slower.
Okay. Well, that's a very good point.
But you're going to have to, just like you have to learn to play things slow first, you're going to have to learn to play correctly slow first. It's going to be frustrating because you're going to be like, I can play it correctly if I play it wrong. You know what I mean? Like I can play physically wrong, but the music is correct, but then you're causing damage and you're also limiting your ability to progress. Because if you're doing certain things physically wrong, you will reach a wall that you can't get past. If you're doing them physically correctly, you'll blow past that wall.
So that's a good point, and I think you brought up something that I didn't realize was part of the problem. In that, if I'm practicing minimum 3 days a week and I'm playing gigs live, and guitar is a big part of my life, I absolutely could just start that In Flames song, and by the end of the song, I'm warmed up, I'm not tense, everything's fine. But after barely playing for 6 months, that would probably end in an injury. When I say injury, I don't mean like
Just
it's a sling,
pain,
but like
yeah.
if I went to play guitar tomorrow, it would be severely, detriment to
Right.
this. So that's a good point.
My point is to take the opportunity for the time off that you had to not feel like you have to get everything right now and go backwards a little bit. Take a step back so you can take 3 or 4 steps forward. Learn how to play better physically so that eventually you play better music.
Interesting.
Take that time now because you don't need to be good at anything. You're not recording a record. Now's the chance to suck at whatever you're doing and get better at it and build up the correct way.
It's a very good point.
And so that exercise, I do it on every string because it changes the hand position. Right, so I'll do it all the way up and down, and then all the way up and down. All the way up
Yeah,
and down.
you're right. This
Right.
is totally a different,
Yeah.
But even your thumb's position is
Right.
different.
Yes, exactly. Your thumb's in a different spot. So it's boring as heck. That's definitely the do it with the TV on one. But make sure you're checking in with yourself that everything's relaxed. I'm saying that like 4,000 times, but it's so important. Relaxed forearms is hugely important.
Okay. That is a good
If
one.
you a good guy to watch that looks like you can actually tell he's relaxed is Steve Vai. Watch him play crazy difficult passages, and it looks like he's yawning with his hands. It's just like there is no tension in that guy's arms at all when he plays.
Yeah, there's a Soilwork riff that always got me as a kid that I'm definitely not going to be able to play it now.
Oh, like an arpeggio one? Yeah.
But they don't play it as sweeps.
Right.
They single pick each note.
Yeah.
So when that song came out, which I think was off of Chain Heart Machine, but that one, like, I just sat there for like a month as a kid, just over and over.
Trying to get it, yeah.
And a couple of months ago, or I mean maybe over a year ago now, when I was still good enough to not embarrass myself, I played that song a couple of times, and it took like a week to get it back, but it still didn't feel right, and I always wondered, like, why? Is it because they're sweeping? And I think now that you're talking about it, it's not so much a sweep that they're able to do that without going...
Right, without being tense.
Yeah.
And probably, right, have you watched him play? Is he using an upstroke on the last one or using his fingers at all?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because that last downstroke is a killer if it's going in the wrong direction. I would be going down, down, up, down, down, up.
That is also an interesting one. And that's one that blew my mind as a kid because I grew up with,
Yeah, everything's
so
down, down,
yeah.
down. Yeah.
Only downstrokes. So when I learned Erotomania by Dream Theater, it blew my mind because I was like, you could go the other way?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was the thing. It changed the
There's
whole way I
up
play.
picking?
Yeah, but even songs like, it's obviously the way that you choose to sound it, because the song Live Your Way that we do,
Right. Sometimes you want it to
sounds
sound
way
that way.
different than...
Right. Totally different. But also, the second you went to play that, your shoulder comes up, you're like tense, you look like... It's totally like counterproductive to play that way.
That's a good point. I didn't realize that. I went right into it.
Yeah. That's something you got to work on, and you have to work at it at slower speeds before you can do it fast.
Man, squeezing like you're constipated. I gotta
Not
do
good.
that. Yeah.
It's oh man, this is when I play pool, I have this habit of grabbing the pool cue too tight when I take a shot, and it curves the thing. And the one guy tells me to pretend you're ringing a bell. Don't hold it any tighter than you would when you're ringing a bell. He's actually got a ruder way of saying it too, which I remembered good, but I'm not using that on my channel.
Fair enough.
But yeah, ringing a bell is like, think of that like you're just ringing a bell, nice and easy.
Interesting. Okay. So I got to make a conscious effort to not bear down like I'm pooping or giving birth. And I have to and I have to watch how high my hands come up off.
Yeah, and that's really mostly about thumb position, and you're gonna get that with the. My pinky's the furthest one. It's definitely up, but when I go really fast, I stop paying attention to it. But it's really about where my thumb's at. If I start pulling my thumb here, my pinky's coming way up. So my thumb has to be positioned under center. So I'm using fingertips always.
Funny, thumb position, something that I always had an issue with, because a lot of the songs, like if you play acoustic, you have a lot of songs that require you to put your thumb on the low string.
Yeah.
So my thumb's always like.
Yeah, but that's fine when you're playing. If I'm playing like a blues rhythm, like a. My thumb's up here. Depends on what I'm pulling down, right? But if I start playing classical stuff, shredder classical stuff, my thumb's down here. Or if I'm doing like that kind of stuff, my thumb's centered because I need fingertips. When I start looking for feel and bends, my thumb moves.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's starting to make sense. So I think I have a vague plan on how to get started then, and that concentrate on accuracy.
Yeah. Do the stretches first.
Do the stretches.
Work in sprints.
Work in sprints.
Work on riffs at half speed, focusing on being loose and proper thumb position.
And at home, I would always have a metronome or some kind of good drum track or something.
Yeah, I like a drum loop because it makes you start writing music and thinking about drums and groove. But I do have a metronome app on my phone that I sometimes just put a clicker on and play along with it.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Any decent comments from the chat?
I missed a bunch of it.
Sorry, everybody in the chat. I'm genuinely curious of Mark's answers here. So
Shank says he likes playing punk music. I can just power chord and not feel like I have arthritis.
Yeah.
This is true. And Ronnie G wants to play pool with me.
Yeah, a lot of the punk stuff's it's way more about how you play it and not the talent. Like if you're going, you suck. But if you're like,
yeah, you got to smash it for punk.
That's a totally different feel. So yeah, it's not about accuracy; it's about how you play the music. A lot of my stuff
for
like
sure,
that
but
too.
even then, got to be loose.
Yeah, true.
Every one of these things, you got to be loose to do it well. You can definitely get away with playing tight, but you're going to hit a wall. And when you don't play regularly, it's going to hurt.
True.
If you play regularly, you can get away with it too.
Okay. So for somebody who's predominantly a rhythm guitarist, like the first time I heard, of course not playing right now,
Little Megadeth.
The first time I heard that stuff, I was just like, I need to play guitar. Not I need to play.
I will answer your question in a sec, but before I forget about it, one other thing I noticed you do that's a habit that I want to help you with.
Yes.
Play that riff again, but play it slow. Your pick angle?
Yes.
You're turning your pick a lot, which is good when you're playing fast, but on some of these rhythm things, you're turning it too much. And instead of getting the crisp note, you're getting more of a scrape of the note. It doesn't sound like a note.
It's funny,
Make sure you click
I do
across
that
it.
intentionally a lot. Like some of the stuff that we did together, like that. Like that, I want to hit it at an angle because I don't want. But I do have to make a conscious effort to pick and choose which.
Depending on which one, yeah. Because the Megadeth one definitely
right,
is crisp. It's crisp, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry, I interrupted. So your question was?
No, it's totally fine. So, getting into the rhythm stuff, and maybe I do play that one gritty on purpose because I feel like that's how Dave Mustaine, just a gritty human in general. So that's how he would play it. But switching between that and lead is something I've always had a problem with.
Okay.
And I even changed one of my solos to start out on the grittier side to give me a few seconds. So, it goes from like. So I'm still, even though that's technically the solo, once I start the,
Yeah.
I'm still whacking the notes. I'm still getting in like I was in a percussion rhythm thing.
Right, right.
And then I get into the. What is a better way to transition from styles of picking? Because that solo is basically the entire solo. If I could play it, which I could only really play it when I'm warmed up, especially not after playing guitar for 6 months. But as the solo progresses, it goes from lots of like big hits to
Right.
you know, and then it even gets into like minor sweeps.
Right. So a lot of that stuff is going to correct itself when you do these things again at the slower speeds and focus on what your hands are doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
you're just playing. You're only ever playing it. You're playing the rhythm and you're playing the song. You're playing the rhythm and you're playing the song. You've never separated it and worked on it as a little chunk, as a small piece.
Well,
at slow.
Not when I'm out of practice. When I recorded the album, I could play that solo with my eyes closed.
Right.
When I first woke up in the morning, but getting back into it, or even if I was at my best, I still had an issue switching hand positions. And what you just told me about where I put my thumb and how I hold my thumb, I think if I work on that by default,
it's going to fix itself. Yeah, it's going to fix itself.
And of course, you know, one of the lucky things about using a V is I do this very cheap trick of bracing the guitar on the inside of my thigh, which allows me to let the guitar hang while I'm hitting it. So that's one really important trick that I use, going from like really heavy like to much, you know, individual picking like. So being able to loosen up my grip, loosen up everything else, and start hitting individual notes, that's the only trick I really have. Now you taught me the thumb thing, but is there any other thing I could do to just change my posture so that I'm hitting these individual notes going through the solo?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think it's just a matter of what we've already talked about and internalizing it. There's no other trick to hack it. You're already aware that you're doing it, so it's just don't do it. I mean, yeah, there's no special shock treatment therapy that I can give you that's like, if I do this with my thumb, suddenly I'm going to play it correctly. You know, it's not like that. It's by working on it at those slow speeds, all the relaxed stuff. You can't do those big like hacking rhythmic motions that when you're thinking of like the very fine staying relaxed. It's a completely different kind of feel. And when you have started practicing things at slower speeds and focused on being relaxed, you will go into that. But it's going to be like a couple months of practice before that becomes your new habit.
It makes total sense.
It won't just happen overnight.
Because when I was recording the album, one of the things that I did was that solo that I just played, when I was getting myself used to it, I recorded each part separately. And I way over accentuated so the individual notes were, they were so clean, and then the hard stuff was way too, I hit too many notes.
Right.
That's basically what trained me, my hand position. And I, in fact, wanted to do much like In Flames often does and record each part of the solo different as like a call and return type of thing. But I was like, this is my first album. Like, I can't. It would feel like cheating. I want everybody to know I could actually play it start to finish. I'll save the musical theatrics for when I've already proven myself.
Right.
But that was a huge factor in getting the solo the way I wanted to hear it. Was each part that had a slightly different hand position, I recorded over and over by itself, put it all together, and then played along to that, played along to the click, and then got it to the point where I could just hit record. And I think I did like 4 takes and took 2 of them, and that was what's on the album.
Right. And you're kind of answering your own question. You had to break it into pieces before you could do it all straight through.
So it goes back to
there's no hack for that.
Yeah, so it goes back to the video you just launched about do things in little bursts, not marathons.
You're gonna have to integrate that information all little pieces at a time.
Interesting. So I get a lot to work on. This isn't going to be the world's best live stream because I have to practice and then come back and be able to guitar battle, which you clearly win, but I still think we'd have fun doing it. It's
if you want, we have to figure out how to get the drums to work on there.
Yeah, zero ego for me when it comes to this stuff. I just really enjoy doing it, but yeah. All right, so that is pretty interesting. The only other thing I do enjoy, which I guess is the exact same thing that you just explained, is that I, being like a acrobatic rhythm guitarist, whatever you want to fucking call it, but like I do treat the guitar differently than so many other people. Like, one of the things I love to do when it makes sense is not just, but I'll do.
Yeah. I've seen you do that for sure.
Yeah, stuff like that, where the guitar is a full percussion instrument.
Yeah.
So
just don't break it like AJ's.
Yeah, I was there when he punched off his guitar.
Yeah.
But so when I practice those things, that's technically wrong. Like I've had guitar teachers tell me like you play wrong, which my answer is always
Ernie. Sorry, one sec. Ernie, what we're talking about should definitely help.
Yeah. So when I practice that stuff that's odd, that's a very Bob thing to do, even if it's not the right thing to do. Just treat it the same, right?
Right.
Do it slower, like
Yes.
I don't think maybe there's a thing. Once again, I'm not a real musician, but like maybe there's a name for that. The only other person I've seen do it is Jesper from In Flames, which is where I stole it from.
You'll see guys do it on acoustic more than
Adrian
There's a whole
Ballou does
bunch of stuff like that all
the time. But he's
they actually make acoustic guitars with the guys, like they have like a different attachment here so they can make like bass snare.
Right.
It's crazy what some of these guys do.
I'm actually hitting the notes with the fat of my hand on the bridge to do it. So it's the same theory. It's just do that stuff slowly.
Yeah.
So
Stay relaxed when you do it too. Same thing.
Yeah, that's another thing. I very often.
I'm gonna keep coming back to the same thing. Stay relaxed. Stay relaxed.
I can't tell you how many gigs I left with like just bleeding all the way down the side.
Yeah, and
of
it's
my
an
hand.
electric guitar. I mean, you don't have to hit it hard for people to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That is part of being in the moment, though.
For sure. When you're playing live.
I do wish we had video of when AJ punched the side of his guitar.
Lily says you should just punch it like Doyle from the Misfits.
Was that Lily?
It's not a bad idea, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. No, that's the rhythm guitarist in his band, AJ. I was there. I was front row. I was, from here to the camera away when there was a part of the song where he did the same thing I just did, where you go. But he would do this motion where he'd punch his guitar, and he got excited, and he punched the side of his guitar.
Yeah, an entire piece of the guitar fell off. It was not good.
It was kind of funny. I was like horrified because it was a really, it was one of his favorite guitars, but at the same time, it was just. Can you think of anything more metal than that?
I gave him that guitar on the divorce. Do you know the story of that guitar?
I don't. Oh my god.
So AJ and I have this band, Answer Infinity. And we were friends. We knew each other a bit, not for a super long time. And he had gone through a breakup, and I liked his ex-girlfriend, and he didn't like me too much back then. and he was over my house at one point, and I don't know what happened. I was just like, here, take this guitar. Like I was trading it for the girlfriend or something. It was a Parker. It's like a $3,000 guitar. So fast forward 12 years later, we sorted our shit out. He kicked the shit out of me a few times. We're all good now. So he breaks the guitar on stage.
That was amazing. The funny part was he said something to me later, like, because one funny thing he would do sometimes is if the stage was close enough to the crowd, he'd hold the guitar out, and either me or his cousin would like bump on the side of the guitar. And he got all into it, and he was like, "You punched the side of my guitar off." I was like, "No, sir. Me and her were standing right there. That was all you, buddy. You got excited."
All right, so just to recap one last time. Start with the stretches. Always start with the stretches. If you're not playing all the time. And if it's cold out. Yeah. Do the, once you got the stretches, do the exercise, the chromatic one, up and down on each string. You don't have to do the entire thing each time. You might do that string, play something, do the other string, play something else, come back, Just make sure you go from the low to the high strings. Focus on relaxation. That's the number one thing. Relax your forearms. Always relax forearms, right? And fingertips up here at the top especially.
All right, let's do the whole thing relaxed.
Right.
The relaxed thing, that's going to take the most effort.
That's going to take a ton of time because you have a bad habit.
Yeah.
It's like quitting smoking for the equivalent. Like you're going to have to retrain yourself. And then the last thing is work on your riffs at half speed and get the nuances down.
That is something I've done. That's going to be the easiest thing for me personally. The hardest thing is going to consciously unclench my butt.
Yeah.
And also thumb position. Both and how high my hands come off the fretboard, definitely.
Yeah. That'll correct with your thumb when you're doing this exercise.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Otherwise, you start flailing.
I feel like this is absolutely going to get me back on track, and I also think like. Anybody who's done the John Petrucci videos, like, obviously I could barely even play that, if at all. I like that you just gave me simpler stuff to start with.
Yeah,
because that stuff is really good if you're practicing all the time.
All the time, yeah.
But, like, to sit there and go... Like, it's so boring I can't do it. But
Yeah.
just sit there while I'm watching it. And you can't do stuff like that while you're watching TV if you're out of practice.
Right.
You know, if I'm practicing every day, I go on vacation for a couple of days, come back. Yeah, absolutely. Give me
Right.
10 minutes and I'll do it. But there's no way that I can't just be watching some very boring YouTube video, like one of the Voltar bullshit videos, and just...
Totally.
Yeah, that's something I could totally do.
All right, so this is Bob, RetroRGB. It's RetroRGB on YouTube, right?
At RetroRGB on everything. If anybody cares, the website, podcast, YouTube channel, all focuses on everything new and exciting in the retro gaming scene, which new and retro seems like it's counterproductive, but there are. It's a huge, thriving scene. Some of the smartest people I've ever worked with have made products for it. And the RetroRGB is all about highlighting those people, those products, some of which are in the chat. So thank you very much for coming by.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
And so.
And I'm Mark, Music with Marky. If you don't know who I am, it's YouTube, Music with Marky. It's all anything guitar related, songwriting related, and gear, and sometimes I got songs on there. So check it out.
Oh, one last thing.
Yeah.
Last thing. 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
You and I did a song where I wrote that nutty acrobatic rhythm thing for it, and you did some badass solo. And Renee, DB Renee, said that he was going to do his version of the solo, and we were going to battle.
Oh.
And then apparently Renee got scared. It was cold all the way up there in Canada. Was afraid, just watching Moose walk by, and he chickened out. So all of that's a lie, by the way. But I still want to finish that. I thought that would be a very fun guitar battle because you two are both excellent, but you play different.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear the difference in that. So
Ronnie,
I'm calling you out.
Ronnie wants to hear us play something. Let's see if I can get the drums to pop through so we can play.
I remember that.
Just give me something in E minor. Yeah. Almost. Just noodling.
Yeah. It's funny, when it comes to jam sessions like that, I could do that on rhythm all night. And if you tell me to play a solo,
Yeah.
it's like telling me to sing on command. Like my asshole slaps shut, my mouth goes dry, I don't know what to do. Like we all have our things that we're good at.
I almost had that. So what do I got to do? I got to work on it with the metronome at half speed till I get it up to speed.
Watch your thumb.
And watch my thumb.
All right. Thank you everybody
Thanks,
for stopping
guys.
by. This was a fun impromptu thing.